Tell Jordan I said hi, I said calmly. My wife's face went white. She thought I didn't know about the affair. Wrong. I knew everything. The hotels, the lies, the money she was stealing. But here's the twist. Jordan isn't just her lover. He's the man who destroyed my life once before. My name is James Hendricks. I'm 49 years old, and I've spent the last 23 years selling luxury real estate in Denver. Houses with mountain views, properties that cost more than most people make in a lifetime. I'm good at reading people and knowing what they want before they say it. Funny how I could see through a client's poker face, but missed what was happening in my own home. It was a Thursday evening when everything shifted. Amanda stood in our bedroom doorway, adjusting her earrings, the diamond studs I bought her for our 20th anniversary. She wore that burgundy dress, the one that hugged her in all the right places. Her perfume filled the room, expensive and deliberate. "Don't wait up tonight," she said, her tone casual, like she was commenting on the weather. The networking event might run late. I sat in a leather chair by the window, the one where I used to read Dylan bedtime stories when he was little. Now my 16-year-old son was upstairs, probably gaming with his headphones on, oblivious to the theater playing out below. I looked at Amanda, really looked at her. The carefully applied makeup, the heels she never wore to actual work functions anymore. The way she wouldn't quite meet my eyes. "Tell Jordan I said hi," I replied, my voice calm and even. The effect was immediate. She froze right where she stood, one hand still touching her earlobe. Her face went pale, then flushed red. For 3 full seconds, she didn't breathe, didn't blink. The confident woman who'd walked into the room just vanished, replaced by someone who looked like she'd been punched in the gut. "What?" Her voice came out barely above a whisper. "Jordan Reed," I said, leaning back in my chair. "Finance guy. Drives the black BMW. I'm sure he'll appreciate you dressing up for him." Amanda's mouth opened, closed, opened again. No words came out. She grabbed the door frame like she needed it to stay upright. I'd spent 6 months preparing for this moment. 6 months of watching, documenting, planning. 6 months of playing the fool while I built my case. And now, watching her realize that her carefully constructed lies were crumbling, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Control. She finally found her voice. "James, I don't know what you think." "Save it," I interrupted, standing up slowly. "I'm not guessing anymore, Amanda. I'm not wondering. I know." She didn't leave right away. She stood there, tears forming in her eyes. Real or performed, I couldn't tell anymore. Maybe she couldn't either. "We need to talk," she managed. "No," I said. "You need to go to your event. Or your meeting. Or whatever you're calling it these days. We'll talk when you're ready to stop lying." I walked past her, close enough to smell that perfume that used to drive me wild, and headed downstairs. Behind me, I heard her breath hitch, heard the click of her heels as she finally moved. The front door opened and closed. I stood in the kitchen, listening to her car pull out of the driveway, and allowed myself one moment, just one, to feel the weight of what I'd just done. Then I walked to my office and opened the file labeled Property Assessment. Inside were 6 months of evidence. And tonight was just the beginning. The folder had started as a hunch. Now it was a weapon. I sat in my home office, the one Amanda never entered because she said it smelled like old paper and coffee, and opened my laptop. The screen glowed in the darkness. It was past midnight. She still wasn't home. 6 months ago, I'd been organizing our taxes when I noticed something odd. A credit card statement with charges I didn't recognize. Restaurants I'd never been to. A hotel in Boulder, just an hour away. Billed on a Tuesday, when Amanda claimed she was at a women's leadership conference in Colorado Springs. I'd almost asked her about it. Almost. Instead, I did what I do best. I investigated. I started with the simple stuff. Checked the cell phone records on our family plan. Amanda's usage had spiked. Hundreds of texts to a number I didn't recognize. The calls always came during her late meetings or my business trips. I ran the number through a reverse lookup service. Jordan Reed, age 41, vice president at Summit Financial Group. Then I remembered him. We'd met at a charity gala 2 years ago. Amanda had introduced us, said he was a colleague, someone she worked with on a commercial property financing deal. Good-looking guy, I thought at the time. Confident handshake. Too much cologne. I dug deeper. Our joint credit card showed a pattern. Every other Thursday, charges at the same boutique hotel downtown. Always around $200. Always on days Amanda texted me that she'd be working late. I installed tracking software on our shared iPad, the one she used for recipes and shopping lists. Took me 10 minutes. She never noticed. The GPS showed regular trips to an address in Cherry Creek. I drove by one afternoon. Upscale condos. Jordan's building, according to public records. But I needed more than circumstantial evidence. I needed something ironclad. That's when I called in a favor from a client, former military guy who now ran a private security firm. He owed me for helping him dodge a messy property dispute with his ex-wife. Surveillance, he'd asked over drinks. Discreet surveillance, I clarified. 2 weeks later, he handed me a USB drive. Video footage, time-stamped and tagged. Amanda and Jordan entering his condo building together, leaving separately 2 hours later. Her hair different, makeup smudged, walking with that particular careful step of someone trying not to look guilty. I watched the videos once. Just once. Then I filed them away with everything else. Bank statements, text message logs, GPS coordinates, hotel receipts, photographs. I built the case like I'd build a property portfolio, methodically, completely, with no room for doubt. The door opened downstairs. Amanda was home. I heard her heels on the hardwood, heard her pause in the kitchen, probably pouring herself wine, trying to calm her nerves after tonight's confrontation. I saved my work, encrypted the files, and backed everything up to 3 separate cloud accounts. Then I closed my laptop and headed upstairs. Dylan's light was still on. I knocked gently. Yeah. His voice came through the door. I opened it. My son sat at his desk, headphones around his neck, computer screen showing lines of code. The kid had inherited my analytical mind. You good? I asked. Dylan looked at me, really looked at me. At 16, he was almost as tall as me now, with his mother's dark hair and my gray eyes. Dad, he said carefully, are you and Mom okay? Smart kid. Too smart to fool. We're working through some things, I said. But you and me? We're solid. Always. He nodded slowly. Okay. I closed his door and went to the master bedroom. Amanda was already in bed, facing away from me, pretending to sleep. I didn't say a word. Just got ready for bed and lay down on my side, staring at the ceiling. Tomorrow, I make the next move. Tonight, I let her wonder what I knew. The coffee shop on 16th Street was one of those trendy places with exposed brick and overpriced lattes. I'd chosen it specifically because it was nowhere near Amanda's usual haunts. When you're about to discuss destroying someone's life, you don't do it in familiar territory. Jordan Reed walked in at exactly 2 o'clock. He spotted me immediately. I made sure to sit where he couldn't miss me. The look on his face was priceless. Confusion, then recognition, then something that might have been fear. James. He approached the table cautiously. What are you doing here? Sit down, Jordan. I gestured to the chair across from me. He hesitated, then sat. Look, if this is about Amanda. It's not about Amanda, I interrupted. It's about Phoenix. His face went pale. Phoenix. Phoenix Data Solutions. The startup we founded together 12 years ago. Remember that? Before you stole my client list, my proprietary algorithms, and left me with nothing but a worthless partnership agreement. Jordan shifted in his seat. That was business, James. Nothing personal. Nothing personal. I repeated, letting the words hang there. You bankrupted me. I lost my first house. My first marriage fell apart. It took me 5 years to rebuild from what you did. Ancient history, he said, but his voice wavered. Is it? I leaned forward. See, when I found out you were sleeping with my wife, I had a moment of clarity. This isn't about Amanda choosing you. This is you, once again, taking what's mine because you can't build anything yourself. Jordan's jaw tightened. I don't know what you think you know. I slid my phone across the table. On the screen was a photo. Him and Amanda entering his building, her hand on his arm, both of them laughing. He stared at it, but didn't touch the phone. Here's what's going to happen, I said calmly. You're going to end things with Amanda. Today, you're going to tell her you made a mistake, that you can't do this anymore. And then you're going to disappear from our lives. And if I don't, I smiled. It wasn't a friendly smile. Then I send this photo, plus about 50 others, plus detailed financial records showing how you embezzled funds from Phoenix before you bailed, to every major financial firm in Denver. Your career will be over before lunch tomorrow. His eyes widened. You're bluffing. That was over a decade ago. Fraud has no statute of limitations when it comes to professional licensing, I said. One call to the SEC, Jordan. That's all it takes. He sat back, breathing hard. You had this planned. Every step. I took my phone back. You see, I learned something from Phoenix. Never start a war you haven't already won. So yes, I've had this plan for months. End it with Amanda, or lose everything. Jordan stood up abruptly. You're insane. No, I said quietly. I'm thorough. You've got 24 hours. He walked out without another word. I finished my coffee slowly, savoring the moment. The first domino had fallen. Now to wait and see if Jordan was smart enough to push the second one himself. I didn't expect Dylan to find out so soon. But my son was smarter than I gave him credit for. It was Saturday morning. Amanda had left early for yoga. Another lie I didn't bother challenging. I was in my office, reviewing property assessments, when Dylan appeared in the doorway. Dad, can we talk? Something in his voice made me close my laptop. Of course. What's up? He came in, shut the door behind him, and sat in the chair where Amanda had sat just days ago. He held his phone, turning it over and over in his hands. I know about Mom, he said finally. My stomach dropped. What do you know? Dylan looked up, and I saw myself in his eyes. That same analytical distance, that same refusal to let emotion cloud judgment. I installed a keylogger on her laptop 3 months ago, he said. I was curious about some weird charges on the credit card, stuff that didn't make sense. So I started tracking her activity. Dylan, about all her emails, Dad. Her text messages. Everything. He pulled up something on his phone and handed it to me, including these. I looked at the screen. Messages between Amanda and Jordan. Dozens of them. Some were innocent enough, but others were explicit about their affair, about their plans, about how Amanda was just waiting for the right moment to leave. My hand tightened around the phone. How long have you known? I asked. 2 months. Maybe longer. Dylan's voice was flat, controlled. I didn't know how to tell you. I thought maybe I was wrong. Maybe I was misreading things. But then Thursday night happened, and I knew you'd figured it out too. I handed the phone back. You shouldn't have had to deal with this alone. Neither should you. We sat in silence for a moment. What are you going to do? He asked. Make sure we come out of this okay, I said. You and me. Dylan nodded slowly. I want to help. Dylan, I'm not a kid anymore, Dad. His voice was steady, mature beyond his years. She lied to both of us. She chose some random guy over her family. I want to help you make sure she doesn't destroy us. I studied my son, 16 years old, sitting there with the weight of adult betrayal on his shoulders, and still standing straight. All right, I said, but we do this smart. No revenge posts online, no confrontations. We build the case, we protect ourselves, and we let the system handle it. Deal. He paused. There's something else you should know. What? Jordan's married. Has been for 8 years. I found his wife's Facebook page. She's got 2 kids. The information hit me like cold water. Are you sure? Dylan nodded. Posted family photos just last week. They look happy. I sat back, processing this. Jordan wasn't just a homewrecker. He was a serial cheater, lying to multiple families. Can you send me everything you've got? I asked. Already did. Check your encrypted email. I pulled on my laptop and found the message. Dozens of files, meticulously organized and labeled. Screenshots, message logs, metadata. You're good at this, I said. I learned from the best. He stood up. Dad, I choose you. Whatever happens with Mom, I want you to know that. Those words hit harder than anything else in this entire mess. I stood and pulled my son into a hug. I've got you, I said, no matter what. When he left, I opened the files he'd sent. Dylan had given me more ammunition than I'd gathered in 6 months. Jordan had 24 hours to end things. But now I had something better, leverage over both of them. 3 days after my conversation with Jordan, he showed up in my office unannounced. My assistant buzzed me, sounding nervous. Mr. Hendricks, there's a Jordan Reed here to see you. He doesn't have an appointment. I smiled. Send him in. Jordan walked in looking like he hadn't slept in days. His suit was wrinkled, his tie loose, and there were dark circles under his eyes. James, he said, closing the door behind him. We need to talk. I gestured to the chair across from my desk. I'm listening. He sat down heavily, rubbing his face. I can't end things with Amanda. She won't let me. Won't let you. I raised an eyebrow. That's interesting phrasing. I tried, Jordan said. I called her Friday night, told her we needed to stop. She freaked out, said she'd tell my wife everything if I walked away. Now, that was a development I hadn't anticipated. So you're both trapped. I'm serious, James. This has gotten out of control. He leaned forward. Look, I know what I did to you in Phoenix was wrong. I've regretted it for years. And now this thing with Amanda, it started as just, I don't know, excitement. But it's turned into something toxic. You should have thought about that before sleeping with my wife. I know. He put his head in his hands. What if I gave you money? Enough to make this go away quietly. You divorce Amanda, I disappear, and nobody has to know the details. I leaned back in my chair, studying him. How much? $750,000. The number hung in the air between us. That was real money. Enough to set up Dylan's college fund completely. Enough to buy a second property outright. Enough to start fresh without financial worry. You have that kind of cash lying around? I asked. I can liquidate some investments. It'll take a week, maybe two. I'll let the silence stretch out, watching Jordan squirm. This was a test, I realized. Not for him, for me. Would I take the easy path? The money would solve a lot of problems. I could divorce Amanda quietly, rebuild my life, give Dylan stability. But it would mean letting them both off the hook. It would mean Jordan got to pay his way out of consequences again, just like he did with Phoenix. No, I said finally. Jordan's head snapped up. What? I said no. I don't want your money, Jordan. I want justice. I want everyone to know what you both did. I want Amanda to face the consequences of her choices, and I want you to answer for yours. You're making a mistake, he said, his voice taking on an edge. That money could change your life. My life's already changed. I stood up. And unlike you, I don't think everything can be bought. Get out of my office. Jordan stood slowly. You're going to regret this. Maybe. But at least I'll be able to look at myself in the mirror. After he left, I sat back down and pulled out my phone. Recorded the entire conversation on my smartwatch. Every word, every offer, every threat. Dylan had taught me well. Dylan came to me on a Tuesday evening with his laptop and a look of grim determination. Dad, I need to show you something. We sat in my office, and he pulled up a document. I wrote this, he said. It's an essay about what Mom did, about what it's like watching your family fall apart because one person couldn't keep their promises. I read the first paragraph, and my throat tightened. Dylan had written it from the perspective of a child of infidelity. Raw, honest, painful. He described finding out about the affair, the betrayal, the confusion. He never mentioned names, but anyone who knew our family would recognize the situation. This is powerful, I said. But Dylan, I want to publish it, he interrupted. Anonymously. There's this platform where people share their stories. It gets millions of views. I think people need to hear this. Your mother will know it's about her. Good. His jaw set stubbornly. She should know how this feels. She should know that her choices affected more than just you. I looked at my son, my 16-year-old son who'd been forced to grow up too fast, who'd had to watch his mother destroy their family from the inside. Are you sure about this? I asked. Once it's out there, you can't take it back. I'm sure. I talked to a lawyer online. As long as I don't use real names or identifying details, it's protected speech. All right, I said. But let me read the whole thing first. We need to make sure it can't blow back on you. Dylan handed me the laptop. I spent the next 20 minutes reading his essay. It was brilliant, devastating and honest without being vindictive. He wrote about trust, about family, about how betrayal doesn't just hurt the spouse, it shatters the children too. Change this line, I said, pointing to a paragraph that mentioned Denver specifically. Make it vague. And this part about real estate, too identifying. Otherwise, it's perfect. Dylan made the edits, then looked at me. Ready. He hit publish. For the first few hours, nothing happened. Then the views started climbing. 10, 50, 100. By morning, it had 5,000 views and hundreds of comments. People sharing their own stories, thanking Dylan for his honesty, condemning parents who cheat. By the end of the week, it had gone viral. 200,000 views. Local news websites picked it up. Parenting blogs shared it. It became a conversation starter about infidelity and family. Amanda called me on Saturday morning, her voice shaking with rage. Did you see this? She demanded. This essay that's going around? I did, I said calmly. Amanda's speaking here. It's about us. Someone wrote about our family. Is it? I kept my voice neutral. Funny. I didn't see our names anywhere. James, don't play games. Whoever wrote this knows details about our life. Maybe, I said, or maybe infidelity is so common that thousands of families have similar stories. Either way, what do you want me to do about it? She was silent for a long moment. Did you write it? No. Did you have someone else write it? Amanda, I've got a property showing in 10 minutes. Was there something specific you needed? She hung up without answering. Dylan appeared in my doorway. She called you too? Yeah. She's panicking. Good. Dylan smiled. Not his usual warm smile, but something harder, more satisfied. Let her panic. Let her feel what it's like when everyone knows what you did. I put my hand on his shoulder. You did well, son. But from here on out, we play it careful. No more public moves until we're ready for the final step. What's the final step? Court, I said. Where everything comes out officially. Where she can't hide anymore. Dylan nodded. I'm ready for that. So was I. I gave Amanda exactly what she wanted, a false sense of security. After Dylan's essay went viral and Jordan tried to buy his way out, I went quiet. No accusations, no confrontations. Just a husband going through the motions. She thought she'd weathered the storm. She was wrong. It was a Saturday morning when I suggested we go away for the weekend. Just the two of us, I said. Talk things through, reconnect. Amanda looked surprised, but agreed immediately. Too immediately. Where were you thinking? She asked, sipping her coffee at the kitchen table. Amanda speaking here. Maybe that cabin in Breckenridge. The one we rented for our 10th anniversary. That sounds nice. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. When? Next weekend. I'll make the reservation. What I didn't tell her was that I had no intention of going to Breckenridge. What I did do was make sure she told Jordan about her plans. Dylan and I had continued monitoring her messages. Sure enough, that afternoon, she texted Jordan. James wants to take me away next weekend. Playing the concerned husband. It's pathetic. Jordan's response. Be careful. He knows more than he's letting on. Amanda. He's too weak to do anything. I've got this under control. Reading those words hurt less than they should have. Maybe I was already numb to it. The following Friday, I told Amanda I needed to leave early to prep the cabin. She kissed me goodbye, a hollow gesture that meant nothing. I'll meet you there tonight, she said. Take your time, I replied. I didn't go to Breckenridge. Instead, I drove to Dylan's friend's house where we'd set up a temporary command center. My son had 3 monitors running, tracking Amanda's phone, her car's GPS, and her credit card activity. She's moving, Dylan said, pointing to the screen. But she's not heading to Breckenridge. Where's she going? East, toward the airport. We watched her move across the map. She stopped at Jordan's condo building, stayed for 40 minutes. Then both her car and Jordan started moving together. They're heading to a hotel, Dylan said. The Pinnacle Resort. That's 90 miles from here. I pulled out my phone and made a call to Jason, my twin brother. It's time, I said when he answered. Jason speaking here. I'm ready. Where am I going? I gave him the address. Jason had been waiting for this moment, the hothead to my calculated approach. Where I planned, Jason acted. Together, we were complete. Don't do anything stupid, I warned. Define stupid, Jason replied, and I could hear the grin in his voice. No violence. Just be there. Be visible. Make them uncomfortable. I can do that. 2 hours later, Dylan's phone buzzed with a video message from Jason. I watched it, and for the first time in months, I smiled, really smiled. The video showed Amanda and Jordan in the hotel lobby, checking in together. They were laughing, relaxed, thinking they'd gotten away with it. Then Jason walked right up to them, big as life. The audio was clear. Amanda, what a surprise seeing you here. James told me you two were going to Breckenridge. Funny place for a wrong turn. Amanda's face went sheet white. Jordan actually took a step back. Jason continued, loud enough for the front desk to hear. And Jordan read, wow, small world. Does your wife know you're here? They practically ran to the elevators. Jason sent another text. Got it all on video. Clear faces, clear location, clear panic. Perfect. I typed back. Come home. Dylan looked at me. What now? Now we wait. She'll call soon. I was right. 10 minutes later, my phone rang. Amanda's name on the screen. I let it ring 4 times before answering. Hey, I said casually. James. Her voice was shaking. Amanda speaking here. I'm so sorry. I can't make it to the cabin. I got called into an emergency meeting. An emergency meeting, I repeated. On a Saturday night. Yes. I'm so sorry. Can we reschedule? Sure, I said. No problem. She exhaled with relief. Thank you for understanding. I understand more than you know, I said, and hung up. Dylan was watching me carefully. You're really calm. Because we won, I said. She just gave me the lie on record. Jason got them on video. And she has no idea what's coming. What is coming? I pulled out the folder I've been building for months. Monday morning, I'm filing for divorce. And every piece of evidence we've collected is going with it. Monday morning arrived with crystal clear skies. The kind of morning that makes you believe in new beginnings. I met with my lawyer, Patricia Brennan. At 8 a.m. Dylan came with me. He'd insisted on being there, and honestly, I wanted him there. He'd earned it. Patricia reviewed everything we brought. The photos, the videos, the message logs, the financial records, Jason's footage from the hotel. When she finished, she sat back and whistled softly. This is the most documented case of infidelity I've seen in 15 years, she said, looking at me with something like respect. Patricia speaking here. Mr. Hendricks, you could teach a masterclass in divorce preparation. I had good help, I said, glancing at Dylan. I can see that. She turned to my son. How are you holding up with all this? Dylan shrugged. Better than being kept in the dark. At least now I know the truth. Patricia nodded, then looked back at me. I need to ask you something important. Your wife will be served papers today. How do you think she'll react? Badly, I said, but not violently. Amanda's weapon is manipulation, not aggression. Good, because I need to know. Are you prepared for her to claim you're at fault? That you drove her to this? Let her try, I said. I've got documented proof that I tried to save this marriage while she was actively destroying it. Patricia smiled grimly. Then let's file. The papers were filed by noon. A process server would deliver them to Amanda at her office by end of business. I wanted her to receive them publicly, surrounded by colleagues. Wanted her to feel the same exposure she'd put me through. I went home and found Jason waiting in my driveway. He leaned against his truck, arms crossed, looking like trouble waiting to happen. How'd it go? He asked. Jason speaking here. Filed. She'll be served in a few hours. Good. He pushed off the truck. Listen, I know you told me to stay calm, stay measured. But if she tries anything, if she comes after you or Dylan, I won't be calm. I know, and I appreciate it. But this has to be done right. Jason studied me for a moment. You've changed, you know. The James I grew up with would have gone ballistic the moment he found out. But you turned into someone colder. Someone more dangerous. I had to, I said simply. Being emotional wouldn't protect Dylan. Wouldn't protect our assets. Wouldn't get me justice. Still, I'm proud of you, brother. Those words meant more than he knew. My phone rang at 4:30. Amanda's number. I didn't answer. She called 3 more times. Then the text started. What is this? You filed for divorce? We need to talk right now. You can't do this. I responded to none of them. Let her spiral. Let her panic. Let her feel what I'd felt for months. Helpless and betrayed. At 6 o'clock, her car pulled into the driveway. She came in through the front door like a storm, papers clutched in her hand. James, she shouted. Amanda speaking here. I was in the kitchen, making dinner. I didn't turn around, just kept chopping vegetables. We need to talk, she said, her voice breaking. No, we don't. You can't just file for divorce without talking to me first. I set down the knife and turned to face her. I can, and I did. You made your choices, Amanda. Now I'm making mine. She held up the papers. This says infidelity. You're accusing me of infidelity. I'm not accusing you of anything. I'm stating facts. You had an affair with Jordan Reed. Multiple times. Multiple locations. I have proof. Her face crumpled. It's not what you think. It's exactly what I think. I kept my voice steady. You betrayed me. You betrayed Dylan. And then you lied about it. Over and over. I can explain. I don't want your explanations. I want a divorce. I want you out of this house. And I want full custody of our son. You can't take Dylan from me. Watch me. Dylan appeared in the doorway. She doesn't have to take me, Mom. I choose Dad. Amanda spun around, seeing our son for the first time. Dylan, honey. Don't, he said coldly. I know everything. I've known for months. You made your choice. Now I'm making mine. I watched my wife, my soon-to-be ex-wife, realized that she'd lost both of us, that there was no talking her way out of this, no manipulation that would work. She looked at me one last time. I never meant for this to happen. But it did, I said, and now we all live with the consequences. The courtroom was smaller than I expected. Oak paneling, fluorescent lights, and a judge who looked like she'd seen every variation of human betrayal imaginable. Amanda sat across the aisle with her attorney, a younger guy who'd clearly taken the case thinking he could paint her as the victim. He kept glancing at the evidence binders on our table, and I could see the doubt creeping into his expression. Patricia stood and addressed the judge. Your Honor, we have extensive documentation of Mrs. Hendricks' extramarital affair, including photographs, GPS records, financial statements, and video evidence. She walked through each piece methodically. The hotel receipts, the text messages Dylan had recovered, Jason's video from the resort, Jordan's attempted bribe, recorded on my watch. Amanda's lawyer tried to argue emotional distress, claiming the marriage had been troubled for years. Patricia shut it down immediately. Troubled marriages don't excuse infidelity, Your Honor, and they certainly don't excuse lying, manipulation, and using marital assets to fund an affair. The judge reviewed the evidence in silence. When she finally looked up, her expression was neutral, but her tone was firm. Request for alimony is denied. Primary custody awarded to Mr. Hendricks, with supervised visitation for Mrs. Hendricks pending evaluation. Asset division as follows. The marital home, retirement accounts, and business assets remain with Mr. Hendricks, who provided documentation of premarital ownership. Mrs. Hendricks receives her personal vehicle and personal accounts only. Amanda's face crumpled. Her lawyers started to object, but the judge held up her hand. The evidence is overwhelming and well documented. This court finds clear fault. Motion granted. The gavel came down. I felt Dylan's hand on my shoulder. Patricia gathered her papers with quiet satisfaction. Across the aisle, Amanda was crying, but I felt nothing. No satisfaction, no vindication, just relief that it was finally over. We walked out of the courtroom together, Dylan and me, into the bright Colorado sunshine. Is it really done? Dylan asked. It's done, I confirmed. What now? Now we build something better, I said. Just you and me. For months passed before I heard about Jordan and Amanda again. It came from an unexpected source, Jordan's ex-wife, Melissa. She called me one afternoon, introduced herself, and thanked me. For what? I asked, genuinely confused. For exposing who he really was, she said. When I found out about your case, about the evidence you'd gathered, I hired my own investigator. Turns out Amanda wasn't his first affair. There were 3 others over the years. I'm sorry you had to go through that. Don't be. I'm free now, and my kids know the truth. After we hung up, I realized that was the real victory. Not revenge, but truth. The kids knowing the truth. Being free from the lies. Dylan and I had settled into a new rhythm. He'd been accepted to MIT's early admission program for computer science. The kid who'd hacked his mother's phone was going to do great things. Jason came by every Sunday for dinner. He'd met someone, a teacher who appreciated his rough edges and straightforward nature. Watching my brother find happiness gave me hope. As for me, I was rebuilding. Sold 2 major properties last month. Started dating someone new. Carefully, slowly, with my eyes wide open this time. Amanda moved to Boulder, got a job with a smaller firm. She saw Dylan once a month, supervised visits that were awkward but civil. She'd lost everything she'd been chasing, and I think she finally understood what she'd thrown away. One evening, Dylan and I sat on the back deck watching the sunset over the mountains. Dad, he said, do you think you'll ever trust anyone again? I thought about it carefully. I think trust isn't about never being hurt. It's about knowing you can survive if you are. And we survived, didn't we? Yeah, he said. We did. The sun dipped below the peaks, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold. Somewhere out there, Amanda was living with her choices. Jordan was facing his consequences. But here, in this moment, Dylan and I were free. And that was enough.